JFK, the assassination America still can't agree. On a president was shot dead in broad daylight, in front of hundreds of witnesses and rolling television cameras, and more than 60 years later, a majority of Americans still don't believe the official explanation. The man charged with the murder was shot dead himself 2 days later, live on national television, before he ever stood trial. On November 22, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was riding in an open-topped motorcade through Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas, when shots were fired, striking Kennedy fatally and severely wounding Texas Governor John Connally, who was riding in the same vehicle. Kennedy was pronounced dead at Parkland Memorial Hospital shortly afterward, becoming the fourth American president to be assassinated in office and the first in the era of live television broadcast, meaning the immediate aftermath, the chaos, the confusion, the formal announcement of his death, played out in real time in front of a national audience in a way no prior presidential assassination ever had. Lee Harvey Oswald, a former US Marine with a documented history of defecting to the Soviet Union before later returning to the United States, was arrested within hours, initially for the unrelated murder of a Dallas police officer, before being formally charged with Kennedy's assassination as well, based substantially on evidence including his employment at the Texas School Book Depository, the building from which the fatal shots were determined to have been fired, and a rifle recovered from the building's 6th floor matching his known possession. What transformed Oswald from a formally charged suspect into one of history's most persistent unresolved mysteries happened just 2 days later, on November 24th, when Jack Ruby, a Dallas nightclub owner with documented connections to local organized crime figures, shot and killed Oswald at point-blank range while he was being transferred between jail facilities, an event captured live on national television in front of stunned reporters and law enforcement officials, permanently eliminating any possibility of Oswald ever standing trial, testifying under oath, or providing any further formal account of his own actions or motivations. The Warren Commission, formally established by President Lyndon Johnson specifically to investigate the assassination, concluded after nearly a year of investigation that Oswald had acted entirely alone, firing 3 shots from the depository's 6th floor, a conclusion the Commission's own report presented as definitive, but one that faced genuine, immediate and sustained public skepticism from the moment of its release, driven substantially by a combination of factors including the specific, technically disputed trajectory required for a single shooter to have caused all of Kennedy and Connally's documented wounds, commonly referred to as the single bullet theory, along with the genuinely unusual, suspicious circumstances of Ruby's own access to Oswald during a supposedly secure police transfer, and Ruby's own documented, if murky, organized crime connections. Subsequent government investigations, including a formal Congressional House Select Committee on Assassinations conducted in the late 1970s, reached a genuinely more ambiguous conclusion than the original Warren Commission, determining based on acoustic evidence that a second gunman likely fired from a separate location, suggesting Kennedy was probably killed as a result of an actual conspiracy, though the committee was unable to identify who specifically might have been involved beyond Oswald. A formal government conclusion that, rather than resolving the case, effectively confirmed at an official level that the original single-shooter explanation was likely incomplete, without providing any definitive alternative account capable of replacing it. The decades since have produced an extraordinarily extensive body of competing theories regarding who might have been genuinely responsible for organizing Kennedy's assassination beyond Oswald himself, implicating, at various points, organized crime figures motivated by Kennedy administration crackdowns on their operations, Cuban government retaliation connected to failed American efforts to overthrow Fidel Castro, Soviet intelligence services, and even elements within America's own intelligence and government apparatus. Theories ranging from genuinely serious, evidence-based historical investigation to considerably more speculative, evidence-light conspiracy theorizing, a genuinely wide spectrum of competing explanations that historians and researchers studying the case continue actively debating. The US government has continued releasing previously classified documents related to the assassination in stages over subsequent decades, including a substantial, formally mandated document release process specifically established by Congress in the early 1990s, given the case's sustained public significance. Releases that have provided historians and researchers with considerably more raw material to study, without, even after decades of additional document releases, producing any single piece of evidence that has definitively, conclusively resolved the underlying question of whether Oswald acted entirely alone or as part of some broader conspiracy. What makes the JFK assassination endure as one of history's most extensively investigated and persistently unresolved political killings isn't simply the tragedy of losing a sitting American president under violent circumstances, but the specific compounding combination of factors that have kept genuine doubt alive for over 6 decades since technically disputed physical evidence, the elimination of the primary suspect before he could ever testify, documented organized crime connections surrounding that elimination, and multiple official government investigations reaching genuinely different conclusions from one another over the following decades. A combination that has made the case a permanent fixture of American historical and political discourse in a way remarkably few other historical events have matched. If stories like this, where even the full weight of multiple official government investigations couldn't produce a single, universally accepted answer, are exactly what you come here for, subscribe to The Grave Details, because history holds more stories like this than most people will ever know.